When I saw that Apple announced the iPhone 15 Pro, I made a very quick decision not to buy this phone, but I couldn't really keep my word. In fact, I actually went out and I bought the iPhone 15 and I bought the iPhone 15 Plus, and I finally exchanged it for the 15 Pro. And I'll get into why in this video, but I kind of wanted to talk about my thoughts on the 15 Pro and give it a late review after using it for about a week. So let's unpack the iPhone 15 Pro and kind of talk about the things that I like about it so far, why I think it's actually the best iPhone out of the bunch, and also the areas where Apple really should have improved. I kind of got tired of talking about the iPhone design because year after year after year, the iPhones all tend to look the same. They really kind of bleed into each other. And while this iPhone 15 Pro is not a huge night and day difference compared to the previous iPhones, it still makes little minor changes that makes this phone feel different, and that's a good thing. Let's start with the obvious. The iPhone 15 is made out of titanium, which is more industrial but durable than the iPhones of the past that were made out of stainless steel. Now, Apple did include an aluminum substructure of the iPhone, so it's not completely made out of titanium. But what we get is a much lighter phone. If you look at the iPhone 13 mini, that's my favorite phone of all time, and I like it because it was so small. And I'm not saying that this is as light, but this is only 2 ounces heavier than the iPhone 13 mini, and that kind of says a lot, especially if you're buying a phone for the form factor. It overall feels great in the hand because of the new materials, but also because of the new design. The iPhone 15 Pro has a curved display that you can notice right away, and it doesn't dig into the palm, but kind of rests gently while using your phone. In terms of color, it comes in a variety of colors. The one that I think is the best is the natural titanium. It was super hard to track down this phone, but I did get my hands on it and I'm glad I did. I have zero regrets. It just kind of looks like if you were to cut metal. It looks really good with a dark background, and it also looks good with a light background. Like anywhere you put it, this phone just looks good, and it doesn't matter the light. I think this is the best looking iPhone. But I will admit that at first I did think that the natural titanium was ugly and overhyped. It is something that you kind of have to see in person before you can decide on if this is it. Overall, this is a fine looking phone, especially with the brushed titanium and the rails, the glass, and the curves, giving it an expensive and pricey look. Something that I didn't like about the 15 Pro's design is the action button being quite high. Now, I think that it is a little bit annoying to reach for sometimes, but on the flip side, if they did make it lower, I think I would kind of always confuse it with the volume up button and have a bunch of accidental presses. Really, this was kind of like the lesser of two evils. The action button is pretty useful though, and there are many things that you can do with it, like toggling silent mode, toggling the camera, flashlight, and more. You should know by now. Now, I personally use it to launch the camera, but I've seen a lot of people use it for a bunch of different shortcuts, like turning on your smart bulbs in your room, and some people using it even with their Tesla. Options are pretty much limitless display. The iPhone 15 has a 6.1 inch OLED display that comes in at a resolution of 2556 by 1179 pixels. To most, this just sounds like gibberish, but just understand that this screen looks very crisp and the quality looks really good. Colors are vibrant. Watching content on this is overall a good experience because it just looks like a really good display. The bezels are actually thinner than the bezels on the iPhone 15 Pro and the other iPhones, and you can really tell. The difference is distinct and makes interacting with the content a lot better in my opinion. The phone just generally looks more modern, and also it has up to 2000 nits peak brightness, so when you're using it outdoors and in direct sunlight, you're still going to be able to see what's on the screen. Now, it does have some of the things that it had before, like dynamic island, that I really think could be developed into something more useful. I do think it's kind of useless at this point, but on the other side, we have 120 hertz on this device. The 120 hertz is something that a lot of people will probably not notice, but when I used the iPhone 15 Plus, that 60 hertz really became apparent. It made me more happy that the 15 Pro has it. 120 hertz just really means that your iPhone is going to be running and feeling a lot smoother during animations, and when you're like navigating the phone and really using it, it feels more fluid and buttery under your fingertips. It also has an always on display, which I kind of use, but honestly I'm fine with not using it because a lot of times I'm looking over at my phone and I accidentally think it's on when it's not. The camera on the iPhone 15 is outstanding. Technically, the sensor on the 15 Pro is the same that you get on the 14 Pro. There's no real difference, as you get 3 cameras on the back, with the main camera being 48 megapixels. but the main camera on the 15 Pro is an improvement in a few ways. One, it can shoot up to 24 megapixel photos. And if you're not a camera nerd, what that basically means is that photos will look a lot crisper. You're just gonna notice a lot of the details in an image when you take them, and everything in general looks less artificial and more natural. In low light, the 24 megapixel also looks more detailed, mostly if you pixel peep. Overall, images are beautiful from the iPhone 15 Pro, and the software it built into the iPhone really improved how the photos turn out compared to last year's iPhone. Oh, and also you can change the depth of field, which means the blurriness of the background in post. I'm never gonna use it, but maybe a lot of people will. Now, staying on the topic of camera, this kind of brings me into why I bought this phone and returned the iPhone 15 and the 15 Plus. I was fully content with the video capabilities in the iPhone 15. Like, I thought it looked good, but then I started to see footage of what people were doing with log on the iPhone 15 Pro, and I said, this is the feature I wanted. We're not gonna get the sharp look that we're used to on the previous iPhones if you use log. The iPhone 15 Pro just became a lot more dynamic with the ability to use log and the ability to shoot it directly to an SSD via USB-C. The footage out of this thing could substitute my expensive Sony camera in a lot of instances, and no one will really know the difference. Contrast and colors just look realistic, everything is overall less sharp, and it gives you more flexibility to edit the image exactly how you want in post, and it's not giving it that Apple look or that iPhone look that we're all used to in iPhone videos. Of course, the camera app can use more upgrades and features to fully utilize it. It would be amazing if you can fine-tune an image a little bit more, but this is still a win for content creators. In fact, I've actually been shooting this entire video. No, I'm just playing. This is actually a Sony camera. But if I did, you probably would not notice a difference. In the next year, I plan to take a lot of video with this because so much is happening with me personally, and I don't want to always have to bring around my camera and my really big Sony lenses. I just don't want to carry these around. So being able to carry a camera in my pocket that can take videos that look exceptionally well is a huge deal to me. I'll just feel good traveling with the iPhone 15 Pro and an SSD to plug in and capture some really good looking content. Speaking of the SSD, this phone has USB-C, and to those that are unaware, it means that you can carry one less cable because most newer devices have USB-C. My laptop, my iPad, my camera have USB-C. And that means that when traveling or commuting, you don't need to have a bunch of different cables. And that is such a good feature that I personally think that even that alone was worth the upgrade. Back to the functionality of USB-C, it's pretty awesome because you can plug things into your iPhone 15 Pro directly, including an SSD, an internal dock, your computer display, and more. And it transfers data at around 10 gigabits a second, which to a lot of people that might not make sense. Just know that it transfers data really fast. Those big video files that you're capturing, or maybe your images, can be transferred to your computer like that in comparison to the iPhone 15 and every other iPhone before it, which is still using USB 2.0 speeds. Now that does bring me into one of the cons of the iPhone 15 Pro. And yeah, the speeds of charging with this thing could have been improved. Like Apple, why would you not accelerate the charging speeds? We know you can do it through USB-C, and they kind of kept it at the same charging speeds as the previous iPhones. So the iPhone 15 Pro can charge at a max of 29 watts, which is okay. Apple's saying that you could get around 50% in 30 minutes, which is good for most people, but I know the capabilities of USB-C and they could have made it a lot faster. Now, speaking of charging and battery, the iPhone 15 Pro has pretty solid battery life. I can get through a full day at home working and using the iPhone to text, check emails, watch content, and scroll through socials with around 50% and roughly 4 to 5 hours of screen on time on my lighter days. Other days I can get around 6 hours if I'm out and commuting, but I will have to charge around 4 to 5 p.m. if I have heavier use. In general, it's gonna be a phone that you will have to charge nightly, but I'm kind of used to that. Let's talk speed. The iPhone 15 Pro has the A17 chip, and this chip is fast. But that can actually be said of all of the recent iPhones. They are all smooth, especially year over year, and this is the most powerful with the capability of playing console level games. Day-to-day use, of course, is quite good with no lags or slowdowns at all. And as I've been saying in all of my recent iPhone reviews, at this point, if you have an iPhone 12 or later, don't upgrade for the speed. However, if you have an iPhone 11 and older, you're gonna notice the speed improvements. It will be a night and day difference. So to bring it all back to what I said at the start of the video, I had zero intentions of buying the iPhone 15 Pro. I knew it would be the best phone out of the bunch, and that's to be expected with the Pro lineup. But in the past, I've been highly critical of the Pros because it had zero Pro features and seemed like the name was the only Pro thing about it. But now having a camera with log, combined with faster USB-C speeds, means that this phone is a must-have for me. The key word in what I just said was for me. For a lot of people, I'm talking the day-to-day average consumer, you probably don't know what log is, and you probably don't even know what USB-C is. So those major differences to me and a lot of other people that are prosumers or professionals, we notice these things and you might not. Really, there is no point of you buying the Pro specifically for those reasons. If you are looking for a phone, I'd say that the iPhone 15 is the most appropriate phone for you. It's cheaper, the speed differences between this and the 15 are negligible, and essentially it's the iPhone 14 Pro with USB-C and some stale colors. I'm joking, but you get the point. I think that the iPhone 15 is the best bet for a majority of people. So what do you think about the 15 Pro? Did you upgrade, or are you going to wait for the iPhone 16? Let me know if you have any questions about it. I'm making sure to respond to every single comment down below. And while you're there, give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I'm gonna be doing a day in the life video of the 15 Pro dropping next week, so you're definitely gonna wanna stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching, and everybody have a good weekend. Peace.